part. I believe that just with anything, if we get together, band together, we can do some great things. And I know that we're going to do amazing things, but we're going to do this together. It's your show. It's for the people. This earthquake that we were talking about before the break left a young girl trapped in the rubble of her school. We heard Jonathan Hunt with that report, but the delicate effort to reach her stretched into a new day today in a visual broadcast across the nation as rescue workers struggled in rain and darkness to pick away unstable debris. A sight of her wiggling fingers yesterday became a symbol for hope that drove thousands of professionals and volunteers to work frantically at dozens of wrecked buildings across the capital in nearby states looking for survivors of a magnitude 7.1 quake. Right now, the death toll, at least 245 people in central Mexico and injured over 2,000. Mexico's Navy announced early today it had recovered the body of a school worker from the Enrique Rabbids school, but still had not been able to rescue the trapped child. But that's what folks are watching. Just, that's all they have, folks, is hope. And I understand that. Now, for some of you listening to the broadcast, you may not be feeling too hopeful yourself. I talked to some people that have lost their loved ones, and they just don't have the same spark and the same zeal they have. Life's changed. And I say this, that I've gone through great hardship, lost loved ones just like that. You just don't know what's going to happen to somebody. You don't know what's going to happen to yourself, the same token. But we should live our lives for each other. I give a part of myself every day on the microphone. I've invested my life savings. I've put everything into this to make it work. And to show you and to prove to you that I'm committed. That's the way I think we should live our life. I mean, it's all or nothing. There's just, my dad would always say, if you're going to do it, do a good job. Do a great job. I mean, if you're already working, why just do it half-assed? I mean, let's just be frank about it. Let's put all effort into it. If you got to go to work, be the best you can be. Not just a motto for the Army, but that's how I grew up. That's how my dad taught me. You know, they say if you made it in New York, if you can make it in New York, Frank Sinatra, that song. I mean, it's true. I started in New York, and I guess there's something to that work ethic. You can't just do it halfway. And that's the way that I have been. So I don't like to make excuses. I always think that there's got to be another way. And to feel vulnerable is tricky for me because, I'm used to, getting a paycheck from corporate America or voiceover students paying me for my services, or writing, voicing, and producing for somebody and then paying that. But for a show, this has been uncharted territory. And that's the way that this broadcast has been for many years. And it's really the only way these days, because I'm not getting a check from Clear Channel. I'm not getting it from Entercom. And I've worked for them. But they're not paying me. This is independent. Completely. So if you're confused, you're saying, but the radio stations that you're on, they're paying you, right? No, they're carrying it because they like the show and they know you're listening. So, yeah, if you didn't realize that, because you figure, oh, man, he's on this big station, or he's on our station, he must be getting some advertising revenue off that. No, I'm not making any money from Wounded Warrior. We do that as a public service to them. Samaritan's public service. They don't kick us back checks. None of that. no paycheck, not taking any salary. But that's being selfless. And imagine in a materialistic world that we live in for somebody to be able to do that. Think about that for a second when I ask you to be able to do that. Not a lot of people would. I mean, it takes special kinds of people to be able to do that, to be selfless. And I guess when you're giving, I say today to be selfless in your giving. And as one preacher used to say, don't let the left hand know what the right hand is doing. And sometimes don't overthink things. Just do it. Think with your heart when you give today at forthepeopleshow.com, because I am thinking with my heart every single day when I take to the microphone and give you the stories. And I don't just rip stuff out of the newspapers or just tear things off my printer. I put everything into it so you can experience, have a show that gives you something to think about from a human point of view, not a digital point of view. It's just pointless when you have stuff on your iPad or your computers, news subscribing services or whatever, but there's no replacing the human being, the human heart. My dad would always say, speak from there. Just be you. And that's the only way that we can be. So if you want to know what you're supporting, that's what you got. Just a man and a microphone that loves his country, loves his family. Sounds pretty familiar, doesn't it? Because most of you feel that same way. I'm counting on you. Please, friend, make a difference today in not just my life, the show's life, but so many other potential listeners that will listen to this broadcast and be affected by it positively or revealingly. They learn something, and something thought-provoking. And by no surprise, we don't give you fake news. Sorry. CNN, MSNBC, all those folks, they can go ahead and do that. And I hope that changes someday, where the media gives it to you straight. I was actually reading a news thread. I wasn't listening. It was somebody that lives in the Bay Area here, where I do the show from Tampa Bay. And she said that she was listening to a station out of China. And apparently, it's in English, believe it or not. And she said they reported the news way better than any other station that she's listened to recently in the United States, because it was who, what, why, where, and when. And she said they did not even criticize Donald Trump's UN speech. They didn't even go there. And I kind of like that. When people can have credibility, they don't have any kind of bias to it. Isn't that refreshing? By the way, Rex Tillerson, as our Secretary of State, as you know, regarding Korea, because this is on people's minds about what's going on there with all the disasters that's going on, about the language that's used, if he's concerned about the language used at the UN, because a lot of the Dems don't like it. Let's see what Rex has to say about all of this. Rex Tillerson.
He had made a decision. He has not shared that with anyone externally. Prime Minister May asked him if he would share it with her, and he said no. So I think, as the president's always indicated, he will let you know when he thinks it's useful to let you know, and he doesn't share his forward planning with people.
All right, well, there you go. Well, it's so different from Barack Obama, because he would just put it out there exactly what he was doing, and then all the terrorists were able to hide or just get out of Dodge before that he came. But, I think it annoys others, such as Kim Jong-un, that it is unpredictable. And Donald Trump is not predictable, and that's kind of a beautiful thing. Former Green Beret commander serving as a former counterterrorism advisor to former Vice President Dick Cheney commented about the use of the Rocket Man, and here's what he had to say about that term, Rocket Man.
Well, I'm okay with the tough rhetoric against North Korea. It's kind of in the category of finally somebody said it. I think he's right in the sense that a lot of folks are focused on the Rocket Man and the tone and tenor, but the message was really for Xi and the Chinese. They still hold the key. I do not think Kim Jong-un is going to back away from his program, but the Chinese could choke North Korea off economically tomorrow. The security dynamic in the region for the Chinese has to change drastically. What will that look like? That could look like tactical nukes in South Korea, reintroduced, which have been gone since the 1990s. It could look like the Japanese remilitarizing. Right now, their constitution prevents the Japanese from taking offense, but if they change their constitution, they can rearm and remilitarize. And suddenly, from the Chinese perspective, if they start seeing the South Koreans, the Japanese, and the United States becoming much more aggressive because of their North Korean surrogate, that may be enough to then change their attitude.
I think that he's nuts. Trump has got signs. Was going to sign an executive order. He's actually doing it this moment, targeting North Korea's trading partners. So he's going after Japan. He's going after Iran. This is good. But I think this is going to choke him, and I think he's going to react because of it. And unfortunately, he's going to be like a kid and a temper tantrum, okay? And but I'm glad that we have strategy. What is a little nerve-wracking, and I did read this op-ed piece that now, because of all that's been said over the last couple weeks about we are never going to go to the type of war that Donald Trump has alluded to, that we're going to have just nothing but ashes, that we're just going to, unleash fury and all this fire that Trump has talked about, because Un's going to be able to destroy Seoul, more or less, a large populated area over there. There is definitely some things on the table that would apparently avoid all of that and military action. I think that what we're seeing now with the UN, with the speech, what Trump gave, Nikki Haley, Rex Tillerson, all involved, is that this is the diplomacy that has to play out in front of the governing world bodies, if you will, to be able to say we have done everything and anything we could possibly do, and they anticipate another launch. They have anticipated it. We have talked about it. And we've been right every single time. Any day, any hour, there will be something very provocative coming out of North Korea. Now, I've asked the question, why aren't we shooting these things down? And the alarming answer is to all of that, from what I understand, is we are not ready to do so because we can't. Because some of these altitudes are way too high. And they say it's like shooting a bullet down with a bullet. It's just we're not in the positioning to be able to shoot. And then everything that comes out of North Korea, that's why I've alluded to the fact that if we do something militarily from the air, etc., we're going to have such a military buildup and a coalition that would hit them so hard that when they do their launches that are unpredictable, that these launches would be so fast and decisive that they would not have a moment to be able to push a button. I mean, it would have to be so quick. Can we act that quick? Can we act that swiftly? To me, if we knowing that we're going to do something like that, at least immediate Seoul, Korea, evacuate that immediate vicinity of the 30-mile DMZ, and then do it, because you can go further to the north. But it would have to be so hard, so quick, so swift. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, but I think it's going to come to that because this guy is nuts. He has a death wish. I'm convinced that the Rocket Man has a death wish. I mean, the things that he has done, the defectors that have come out and have talked about the kind of guy that he is, and makes Saddam Hussein look innocent. with what he does to those people over there, the killing